Jays over the weekend and take a 4 furlongs lead over the Phillies. Moving on to the weird, former Yankee Jose DePaula now playing in the CPBL. Jose looking for a new ball, but rather than tossing it back to the ump, just tosses this one to the dugout. That's allowed, but there are consequences. The runner advances to second, E1. Umpire does give DePaula a new ball in the end, so all's well that ends well. And finally, the wonderful Rays versus the soon-to-be Guardians. Rosarina with a base hit up the middle, fielded cleanly in center, but Diaz scores. And Ramirez bumbles the ball at third, so Wander comes home. Then Ramirez fires the ball past the catcher, so Rosarina scores. Rays end up winning 10-5, take 4 of 5 from Cleveland, and that's the weird and the wonderful from the national pastime, Jenna.
Watch that one all play out. All right, switch gears. We got to talk some Packers now. Camp doesn't open until Wednesday, but the Aaron Rodgers drama, still a bit of a dark cloud over Green Bay this weekend. On Saturday, we had this. Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, both posting the same photo of Jordan and Pippen from The Last Dance to their IG stories. Packers tight end Robert Tonyan and running back Aaron Jones poking some fun at Rodgers and Adams. They posted other Last Dance photos to their respective IG stories. So, all right, Brandon, what do you make of all this?
This looks like their private group chat that we talked about months ago is finally going public. Remember when they were making fun of Brian Gutekunst and comparing him to Jerry Krause? It seems like that's happening in a public way right now. But look, who knows? It was the Last Dance last year for these guys. Is it this year? Nobody's going to know until Aaron Rodgers reports to camp and he publicly faces everyone publicly. That's what he has to do. We don't know. I mean, like the guy wanted out, then he said, no, I want to stay. Or, nobody knows, Joy. We need to see this guy stand in front of 50 cameras and reporters and people on the beat and tell us what he wants. That's what we need. Yeah, Wiles, you've been talking about this for months. When are we going to have Aaron Rodgers tell us? We want to hear it from your mouth, Aaron Rodgers. We got to stop this madness right now. We want football back. We don't want the drama, Joy.
It's so passive-aggressive. Like, what is going on here?
Right.
And they know it, too. Just messing with us. We don't appreciate it, guys. We want to be on your side.
Please.
I am on Aaron Rodgers' side. I'm always on the side of the star unless it's, some other kind of underlying drama. But it seems like they have a really terrible communication issue with their stars in Green Bay. And it's a shame because they should be a Super Bowl. I mean, they are a Super Bowl favorite, but they should be there. They should be in the Super Bowl. They're in the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. Outside of the Bucks, who's running it back better than the Packers? But we have no idea what's going on here. It's been an off season of Aaron Rodgers drama. Now you're adding Davante Adams to it. And is this legitimate? We got a report last week that the communication had stopped between them on the contract situation with Davante, which I think is something. Now, we're going to find out if everyone's going to be at training camp and if they're going to play this season. I do think this is going to be the last dance for Aaron Rodgers and possibly Davante in Green Bay, and I blame the front office there. This should never be this bad. It's not that hard.
Okay.
You can't win without stars. You got to figure out a way to make it work.
So, Joy, I'm going to ask you a question because I, like you, love the drama and I love sort of the cryptic nature of it. Like, I wish Aaron Rodgers would just put a picture of just like a trout on his IG and then have all the Packers put trout. Like, what is going on? Why is there trout here? Just no one knows anything. So when you say you're on Aaron Rodgers' side, I'm like, all right, Joy's on Aaron Rodgers' side. Like, what does that exactly mean? Because we've heard of Aaron Rodgers' side, it's like, I want to retire a Packer. It looks like I have to go to another team. Like, yes, all right, you want to be committed to Green Bay. And then there's a recent report that is like, oh, Aaron Rodgers wants to shave years off his deal so he can sort of follow the Tom Brady blueprint. It's like, oh, yeah, right. You don't want to be in Green Bay. You want to be a free agent to go somewhere else. Like, I'm totally confused by it. I love it. I love the drama of it. I love the speculation of it. But when you say you're on Aaron Rodgers' side, it just feels like we're sitting on like quicksand and you don't quite know what Aaron Rodgers means. So when you boil it down to it, what do you think that Aaron Rodgers wants a long-term contract or a shorter-term contract or wants to be out altogether. Because I'm totally lost by this whole narrative of what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Because like Brandon said, he hasn't just like put out a, get on the notes app and say like, hey, here are the 3 things that I want.
Yeah, he's been very vague. We aren't sure exactly what it is that he wants, but I think we can all assume that it's about commitment and respect. Like, this whole story started with the draft with Jordan Love, them trading up to take Jordan Love and not telling Aaron Rodgers. I believe that's where this all started, and it's been spiraling since then.
Yep.
And quite frankly, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not okay with that either. It's not that hard to pick up the phone and shoot me a text, guys. You've got my number. I'm sure you follow me on Twitter. Hit me with a DM. It's not difficult to get in touch with someone. Communication issues start a lot of rifts in relationships, no matter what kind of relationship it is. A business relationship, a personal relationship, family. It usually comes down to communication. So we don't know exactly what it is that Aaron Rodgers wants, but we are all assuming it started with that moment. And I just don't believe it's that hard to give Aaron Rodgers the respect to tell him, hey, we're looking into drafting a quarterback, just a heads up, And if he doesn't like it, you guys run the organization, you can make that choice. But that, to me, was where this all started, and I'm on his side on that.
Yeah, but Joy, they know. Like, we had Greg Jennings on this show a couple months ago when we were talking about this, and Greg said when Aaron Rodgers is dug in, Aaron Rodgers is dug in. He's one of those guys that's also stubborn when it comes to conflict. The Green Bay Packers know exactly what Aaron Rodgers wants. They know his demands. Aaron Rodgers just needs to stand up publicly, because right now it is seeping down to everyone in the organization. You got Adams, now involved in this, and now you can't get your star wide receiver signed. He should be a guy that can play another 5-6 years at an extremely high level and can carry the next quarterback. But that's not happening because of how you're handling Aaron Rodgers. And now you got the other guys on the offensive side also chiming in. This is not how you win a Super Bowl. This is not how you come in and be competitive week in and week out. So they got to figure this out, and that starts with Aaron Rodgers, and that starts with the front office. Because right now, what you're going to see is, probably the worst Green Bay Packer team you've ever seen. Like, we've never seen this before going into a season outside of Brett Favre. I'm talking about led by Aaron Rodgers. Now, we've heard the gripes before. We've heard how he's been, frustrated with the old regime and other people. But at the end of the day, he always showed up in the offseason. At the end of the day, he always came to play. What are you going to get right now? This dude is in year 16, and he's saying enough is enough. So I don't know what you're going to get here, because when you step out there, you got to have a common respect amongst each other, starting with your coaches, going down to the equipment managers, and right now it's just a game for these guys.
Okay, so here's the weird thing about this, because the Last Dance image is a very optimistic take on their projection for this year. And Joy mentioned it. Like, Aaron Rodgers was mad about drafting Jordan Love, and guess what happens? Oh, he goes out and wins MVP. So the guy gets inspired by sort of like feeling disrespected. Now, Brandon, I understand, like, oh, it's distractions in the 100%. Locker room. And if they end up playing poorly, it's pretty easy to be like, well, obviously you didn't take care of, the behind-the-scenes business, so it's hard to take care of the stuff on the field. But Joy, if he was mad about Jordan Love and played so spectacularly, now everybody's mad about his sort of future. I could actually see this being a good thing, which I think is like what Aaron Rodgers is trying to say here. Again, very cryptically, but like, hey, guess what? Last dance is our last hurrah. We're going to go out and win the championship. I buy that more than this is going to be such a distraction that they end up, the season spirals out of control.
So much
Do you
easier
view this
if you would
sort
just
of
tell
like
us.
this sort of like the narrative is as a disaster, or as like good motivation to have a successful season?
That's a very optimistic spin on that. I hadn't looked at it that way. Yeah, no, that's a great way to end your tenure in Green Bay. I just think that it's too much of a team game. He obviously has a major individual impact on that team, but it's just so much noise. It's so much distraction. As you mentioned, when he does come to training camp, if he comes to training camp, I mean, what a circus that's going to be after this offseason and all this drama. He's going to have to pull that, Aaron kind of manipulation. Oh, well, I was just enjoying Hawaii. I don't know. You know what? I can't play with
playing the guitar.
Flower shirt.
Right.
You didn't have a good summer. Whatever Aaron does. He's going to have to do a lot of that at training camp. So I just think it's a lot for them to overcome.
And just to piggyback off your comment, talking about such a team game joy, here's what you're going to have. You got those younger guys that's